Vitsivanu.
No, so Biddy Torah.
Okay. All right. I keep a complete running record of all of the classes and what we cover and try not to repeat and so forth. And because of that, I have a notation that exactly 7 years ago, we started to cover Torah. Exactly 7 years ago. That's kind of weird to think about. Okay. Joseph Perling is there. Hi, Joseph Perling, and Effie is there. I remember how it all got started, and Jeff Mulvoine, I think, was like the official representative of the board or something, who helped get the whole thing launched, and here we are, and I don't really, because I'm not competitive at all, and you know that I'm not competitive, but this is the hottest class at Wilshire Boulevard Temple. Okay, so I'm not going to say that, because that would be totally self-serving. On the other hand, we're growing. It's lovely. We have great people, and we have gone, this is important, far beyond the original core of the University Synagogue group. That group has remained in place, but now we are, I don't want to say metastasizing, that's not a good word, but we are spreading everywhere. It's so good to see everybody. Okay, that's fun. Now, today is also Rosh. I haven't said hello to Lynn. Lynn showed up. Tamara showed up. Hi, Dee Dee is here. Effie, I said hello to you once already. You just weren't paying attention. Today is Rosh. This is Rosh Chodesh Elul. The good news is that because it's Rosh Chodesh Elul, it's 1 month to Rosh Hashanah. And you know, I don't have any sermons to prepare. So my biggest worry is, I'm glad Donna Nadell just joined us after I said that this is the hottest class at Wilshire Boulevard Temple, because I wouldn't want to say that in her presence. So, okay, so, forget that. We'll just keep on growing quietly and nobody will notice. But in any event, it's Elul, and Hebrew, the rabbis played with Elul. This is the month leading up to Rosh Hashanah, and every one of you knows that they take the 4 letters Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed. And Donna, hi, well, welcome back. Okay, hi. Howard is here.
Oh my God.
And I'm not requesting an absence slip. No, it's
I'll give you the excuse from my mother later.
Okay. But Anila Dodi Vidodi Li, I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. That's the Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed for Elul. And the rabbis want to say that even though we're focusing on going forward toward Rosh Hashanah, this is a time for love. And that's a great thing. So this is a time for love. And we're going to celebrate that. Speaking of love, Jim Ruxin, you have a video show tonight, yes? Discussion. Okay, you're going to have to dismute. Can you unmute? I love it when Jim is muted.
He's not muted.
What's he doing?
We just can't hear him.
I can't hear him. Why can't I hear him?
I can't hear him either.
Oh, I can. Jim, talk, say something. Okay, I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you. We'll get back. Cindy?
Yes.
Please, what's up with, hi, Donna Nadell. I see your picture now. Mazel tov on the wedding, right? You had a wedding? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Cindy?
I just have to ask, Sue, are you coming to us from Italy, Sue Casa? Wonderful. Last night,
am. I'm
Susie
trying to get my
shared a
earphones.
magnificent
Uh-oh, I
dinner,
think I just
Shabbat
broke
dinner.
it. Yeah, I am. I am.
Okay, you
But
had a
Susie-
magnificent Shabbat dinner at,
Froman, Susie organized it. It was lovely. It was warm and friendly. Donna came, Diane came. It was
how
just,
many
thank you,
people-
Susie. It was just
how many
wonderful.
people were there? How many people?
On September 8th, we're doing a Zoom on Vienna. The email should go out this week. Everybody is invited, even those not living locally. It'll be Zoom at 5:00 on Thursday, the 8th. We'll be having a monthly happy hour. And that the next one is September 13th. And October 16th, we're having lunch in the sukkah. Everyone is invited. It'll be at the Irmis campus, and our special guest speakers are the David daughters.
Yeah,
So fortunately, the timing worked out so well, and Shoshana and Aviva will both be speaking on advocacy for women's rights around the world. Aviva will talk about her trip to Rwanda and her work as an interfaith chaplain. So it'll just be a really interesting day. Rabbi Nanas will be doing a little Sukkot something, and we'll have a box lunch. So please save the date. The email won't go out for a couple weeks.
okay, that's super. That's super. And I have a note here from Mona. Even though I don't want to keep doing this. Yes, this
Yeah,
is
I
the
keep
largest group in
losing.
attendance that we've ever had today, but I'm not going to mention that. Okay, now, Mona and Steve are away today because Mona is having a full reading of her latest play, a live reading of the play. So she requested permission to be a part. Now, let's just check in a little bit. Jim, are you there?
I think people can hear me now.
Yes,
Okay. So I want to welcome all the newcomers to the second most popular adult group at Wilshire Boulevard, and that's the film discussion group. We're aiming for your numbers, Rabbi, but I don't know that we'll ever get there, nor does it matter. Tonight, we're going to be discussing a really remarkable film called Birds of Passage. It's about a small clan of indigenous Indians on the Venezuela and Colombia border. They've been there for millennia. They survived the Spanish colonization, but inherited some of the Catholic rituals into their lives, and you see that in the film. And it's really the story of how a grand civilization that was modest and subsistence living grew through the drug trade and ultimately destroyed itself because of greed and fighting within the tribe. It's a cultural anthropological document. It's gorgeous. The culture is so rich with stories, dreams interpretation, Lucky Charms, not the cereal. It's a real amazing part of the world. And there's a lesson for us today as diaspora Jews or as Americans about how fragile a culture can be when outside influences come to destroy it. So it's a beautiful film. It's on Amazon Prime. You can still see it this afternoon, and it's 7:30 tonight. And there's a link. If you in the chat, give me your email. I'll put you on the list for future films.
Jim.
Birds of Passage.
Birds of Passage. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get another screen. I am feeling overwhelmed, and okay, enough of that. I would like to check in with some people because I know some things have been happening. Would someone like to share something that's going on? First of all, Sue Casa, you're in Italy, is that true?
Yes, that's true.
What time of the day is it?
It's perfect. It's 6 p.m.
Okay, I mean, that is perfect. Have a wonderful, wonderful stay. And
Grazie. Grazie.
Oh, I can handle that. And pizza. See, I can come back and speak Italian too. Okay, I'm so thrilled that you're here. That is great. And I notice Abby Barron is here. And I have to notice Abby because Abby's gone through hell with her health. And hi, Abby.
Oh, hi, thank you, Stan. Well, I'm having the back surgery Tuesday.
Ooh,
I had like tons of epidurals, ablations, you name it, and all kinds. You name it. I need a new body,
oh,
and but I'm hopeful that the surgery, because I haven't been able to walk very much, so it's
Oh, my
very
God.
difficult, very, very difficult.
well, our thoughts and prayers are with you. We hope-
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
And
We'll
I
be
know
thinking
that
of you, darling.
there's a great deal of pain involved, even in you getting up and sitting up and being with us
Well, I
today.
have my pillows. I've been trying
Ah.
every week, but like a lot of times, yeah. So I'm doing my best. I want to get it. I feel like out of touch with everything.
Okay, we're sending you our love, and in the
Thank
comment
you.
that Moses made regarding his sister Miriam, El Na Rafana La, a brief prayer to God, please God, grant you healing.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
And I'm going to try to see the film. I'll see if I can stay up. If I get tired of late.
anyone else want to share anything going on in their lives? Just checking in. Anything else?
May
Yeah.
I share, Rabbi, real quick, I asked for prayer for something that I hope happens. I will say this, Coast advertised that Kelly Clarkson's going to be at Universal Walk with her bus, and I want to get a chance to sing with her. So went on TikTok where you do a duet, and I just leave it in God's hands. That would make my grandkids so proud.
Super, super. Thank you,
September
Howard.
7th, so pray.
Thank you, Howard.
I'm very happy that my son Seth did a collaboration with a klezmer musician named Naomi Watts. Susan Watts, and he translated her latest song into Yiddish. And last week he read the new translation at a Yiddish festival, which was held in Canada. So it's very nice.
I remember.
Mazel tov.
I remember in the old days when several things were considered to be dead. One was God. God obviously is dead. And the other was Yiddish. Yiddish obviously is dead. And I'd like to say that both are doing quite well. Thank you. So that's nice. Mazel tov for that. Anyone else want to share before we dive into our material? I see Doris.
Yeah, I just want to say that my granddaughter Anya left for school, for college. She's leaving for college this morning. She's going off to Sarah Lawrence. And we had lunch with her the other day. And boy, I tell you, it was a little bit of mixed emotions.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
she's so excited and she's so ready to go. And while we wish her the best, we're lonesome for her already. That's it,
Send her our love. That's great. And
I will.
you still are in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Too fun.
I'm in Lugano, Switzerland.
Now you're in Switzerland.
So I have been since
Whoa!
the last session.
What in the bulletin? Switzerland, Italy.
Buonasera.
I bet a cup of coffee is cheaper in Italy than Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
Very true.
Oh, this is awesome. This is totally. Oh, Arthur Ashur, good to see you back again for another week. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Arthur. That is so good. So, oh my God, do we have a wonder. Now, folks, I'm going to get really serious really fast. The last two Thursday evening postings, which show up, the Facebook and YouTube thing that I do and that you see on Saturday morning, Sunday morning, whenever you see it, were the first of their kind. And I don't know if I'll ever do it again. Last week, a week ago, I was talking about theodicy, aspirational theodicy. And that was the theme of the posting. I have never shared in public in any setting my attitude toward God's justice and whether the universe is so constructed that it moves inexorably toward justice. Yesterday, I continued the process, there's the word, and opened up an area concerning which I know really little. I want to stipulate. But this week, I put out into the posting some perspectives I have on how God growth, change, process erupts in our lives, but doesn't control our lives, and talked about that. The reactions were very strong. And I've hired protective security, and I'm big, and my caregiver, if you've met Gilroy, he's about 6 foot, broad shoulders. I mean, I'm protected. But there were a few people, no, there were more than a few, who in the old days we'd say took umbrage with my positions. The kids would have different language. And they raised really serious questions, for which I have to tell you, I'm totally grateful. Therefore, the material I've gotten in return, pages of comment, individual people writing pages of comments. I would like to set up a Zoom conversation, open mic, not Stanley teaching, conversation. And anyone who will be able to join us, I'm not going to be able to find a date that everyone can make. But I will send out a note saying, I'm going to have this open mic conversation about 2 small issues. Is there any justices in the world? And does God have any control over what goes on in our lives? 2 small questions. And I'm going to set that up. And I just would like you to know that you are all invited and no one is required. Okay? And that's it. I'm going to drop the message now, but you will hear from me. And this is the first time in my life that people have ever directly engaged me on what I actually believe, as opposed to what they think they ought to expect a rabbi to believe. My postings, Donna, are always Facebook every Thursday. Well, they get posted like 2 in.the morning, Friday morning, and also on YouTube. And Rabbi Davids, Torah teaching, whatever. And Risa will send you a link, because I know Risa is here. And please, Risa, send a link. But in any event, this is cool. This is serious. This is a conversation suitable for this group. But please remember, I am not a theologian and I am not a philosopher. I am so far from it. But I have ideas and I'd like to discuss them with you, and I'd like you to share your responses to them. Enough on that. Send me an email if you are interested in being invited. I will also send out a notice to everybody saying, this is the date, time I selected, here's the Zoom link, and we'll have the conversation. I've never done this. And Mara, I need you to be in touch with me, most specifically on date and time. Okay? All right. So this is totally awesome. Now, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs was a great teacher. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Rabbi Lord Dr. Jonathan Sachs. I mean, he had more titles than gray hair. He was awesome. He was a great teacher. Great teachers, my friends, see things that other people don't see and point them out. And usually the reaction is, oh, yeah. In other words, they're not hidden things, but great teachers see things that other people may not see, and he points them out. He's a great teacher. So here's the first piece of information for today. Did you know that the word Simcha is used once in the book of Genesis, once in Exodus, once in Leviticus, once in Deuteronomy? The word Simcha is used once in those 4 books and 12 times, Numbers, book of Numbers, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, 12 times in the book of Deuteronomy. That's an interesting fact. The word Simcha is used 12 times in the book of Deuteronomy, once only in the other 4 books. Of the 12 times that Simcha appears in the book of Deuteronomy, it appears 7 times in this week's Sedra. So this is the Sedra of Simcha. This is the Sedra that focuses on Simcha. Now, Simcha means happy. In our Sedra, when is the word Simcha used? In 2 categories. One, there is Simcha when you come bringing your sacrifices to the temple in Jerusalem. That is referred to several times as Simcha. And secondly, Simcha is the celebration of certain festivals. You know the phrase, V'samachta b'chagecha, rejoice in your holidays. Simcha is used. What do those 2 categories, Lord Sachs wanted us to see this, what do they have in common? What do they have in common? I see Arthur.
I would like to add that the reason that this Simcha or pursuit of happiness is in our constitution, it is not by accident.
That's what Sachs believes, not by accident. As a matter of fact, he believes that he wrote, there's can't be an accident, there are no accidents in the Torah. Why do we infuse the book of Deuteronomy with joy? Now you got to be the scholars. You got to think, what does appearing in the temple in Jerusalem, Simcha, celebrating the festivals, Simcha, book of Deuteronomy, Simcha, what do they have in common? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Okay, Cindy.
Would it be for following the commandments?
That is certainly a number 1 positive yes. Following the commandments, there is Simcha in following the commandments. Deuteronomy means Deuteronomos, the repetition of the laws. A lot of commandments are rehearsed, repeated in the book of Deuteronomy. Simcha. Good. There's more. There's more. Anyone else?
May I, Rabbi? Repercussions for not obeying God's commandments. And
okay. Number 2, the sessions in Deuteronomy are filled with, remember the blessings and the curses? Behold, I've set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Donna's correct. There's a lot of punishment mentioned in Deuteronomy. And Deuteronomy softens with Simcha. That's great. We're doing great. Donna.
I'm not looking at this from a a scholarly perspective, but from a personal perspective of what I consider a simcha. And there's something about the connection between something that celebrates a Jewish or godly event along with family and on the humans, like the combination of man and God together.
We have done beautifully today. Thank you for that. Every time the word simcha is used, it's with a collective. It's not Stanley Davids sitting in the house with a glorious book. We don't call that simcha. Simcha in Deuteronomy is always a shared experience. Rabbis, do you want to deliver sermons about that? That is awesome. And I thank Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory for pointing this out. It had never occurred to me. I see, Arthur, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I am a man of science. Simcha, or happiness, and physical sports are the essence of human health.
We can't make it without joy.
Correct.
We can't make it without joy. And Deuteronomy seems to be saying you can't get joy, simcha, all by yourself. We need each other to make, remember how we used the phrase, a simcha? To make a simcha, there have to be people present. There have to be people sharing. So the first insight is that in the midst of, behold, I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse, Deuteronomy says, simcha is still important even with all the punishments. And not only that, simcha must be done in community. So when Cindy was saying that they had the Shabbos dinner at Froman's Friday evening, collectively, the ladies had a great time. And it was simcha, right? Had you, with all due respect, Cindy, had you gone to Froman's Friday evening, sat at a table, had the same meal, ate by yourself? Okay, thank you for that unsolicited comment. Thank you. Yes.
Right.
And Sukasa, if you are in a fine Italian restaurant, right? And
Yeah.
okay, let me ask this question, really, Sue. If you're in a fine Italian restaurant, Michelin star rated, but there's nobody else in the restaurant but you. Now you're being served a great meal. Tell me about that.
Well, I was going to comment that I think sometimes we don't have the option of being with other people, but sometimes we can have the experience. Like, I think that you can put yourself in a place where you're having a spiritual experience, and it can take the place of having another person there. For instance, I know when I ride my bike and I look around, or when I used to ski, the experience that I have with nature was something I was sharing with nature. So I wasn't exactly by myself. And I think that counts too.
So that's a great comment. That's a great comment. And when you have some pasta, since I love pasta, mention my name, just sort of like I could be there. And Tufan, you're in Switzerland. What can I say? The same. I wish I were with you guys. Okay, I see Gary.
We wish so too.
I see Gary saying, how does Simcha relate to the theme of centralization? Yes, yeah, Gary, beautiful. Thank you. Because Deuteronomy is all about centralization. Having a central sanctuary. It is about setting up the rules and laws for a state, if you will, How does Simcha relate to the theme of centralization? Yes, it is big in Deuteronomy. One place to pray, gather, sacrifice. Simcha must be joyed, shared. And Donna says, my grandfather would call those kinds of experiences machayas. Okay. Do you know what the root of the word machaya is? You know what machaya comes from? It's from chayim.
From life, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a machaya is that which gives life. Right?
Yeah.
Oi, oi, you know what a machaya. You have to say it with an accent. Oi,
Yeah, for sure.
what a machaya, and that's life-giving. So Simcha Machaya. And I want to point out, closing with Sachs, Simcha always comes, I'm quoting Sachs, in a discussion of collective joy. Sachs ends, perhaps hear this, Simcha is the supreme religious emotion. Wow. Simcha as the supreme religious emotion. There's a lot to talk about there, Ray.
Thank you. That's a beautiful note to close on. So I'm sorry to pollute the discussion with a secondary and lesser observation, but I think my observation may be of interest and use to us as well. So I will pollute all the same.
Go pollute away. Yes, I'm on the beach in Santa Monica. Go pollute.
Thank you kindly for that. So I will layer a drosh on top of this Simcha drosh and further observe that if we are mandated to animate and resonate our joy in the community with others, I will go further with that experience and say that this includes a behavior that we do in our study that causes tension both among different individual preferences in the group, and I would say probably among most or all of us as individuals too, which is the balancing act that we do in approaching this text and our discussion, in balancing how we are driven to our thought and inquiry from the text itself, and how we are driven to our examination by bringing to this conversation our own contemporary emotion and experience. And I will say that another category, another bridge building out from the community experience of Simcha, as I'm hearing Sachs and you evoke it, would be that we are further mandated to bring our own emotions and our own domestic and trivial experience to our engagement with these texts, even when it detracts from the energy we take from looking to the text itself as the catalyst. And so I think the community we're mandated to have of joy with our neighbors, we are also mandated to bring our trivial and more, there's a word I'm missing, so I won't worry about it, but fleeting personal experiences and pre-associations from the text. We are supposed to bring our little trivial personal experiences into this too. I think those are related.
Ray, you know that you and I rarely disagree. I'm having just a little bit of trouble when you say trivial, because you use it 3 times, and I don't think our personal experiences ever are trivial.
Right on, right.
You know that there are 2 traditional ways of approaching a text. One is you attempt to derive from the text that which is in the text. And kind of Sachs is doing that, and it's interesting. But the text also has to be open to our bringing our concerns into the text and finding a place in the text for those concerns. That's really important, and that's not trivial. That's not trivial. I have concerns today. Do I have concerns? I should tell you what I have. Okay, I have concerns today that the ancestors, with all due respect, it was not their concerns. I need to be able to find in Torah that which is consuming me, not just that which is hidden and can be derived from the text. I need both, and both are really, really important. Thank you for that comment. Mara.
Thank you for blunting my teeth. I learned from you and I withdraw the word.
It is so loaded, you can store it in a box in Mar-a-Lago. No.
Oh, amen. Bravo, Rabbi.
Okay, Mara.
So my question is, can we not have simcha when we are alone? And so I think of the meditative experience, and there is simcha to be found in communing with God when we are alone, because when we are alone with God, of course, we're not really alone.
Thank you. You kind of twisted the end around a little bit. You know, Mara, there are a number of words that speak about joy in Hebrew. One is oneg, like an oneg Shabbat, the joy of Shabbat. It's an oneg, and Shabbat is called an oneg. When Sachs was doing his word counts, how many times Simcha appears here and there, he had a lesson he wanted to teach as much as he had a lesson he wanted to derive. And are you following with it? In other words, I think that Sachs wanted us, folks, you got 613 commandments. You got thousands of rabbinic cabinets, commandments. Literally thousands. We say 613 only in the Torah. There are thousands. We are a tradition way overburdened with commandments. And Sachs, an Orthodox scholar, says, folks, the core of it all is not the yoke of the commandments, but it's the simcha of sharing in building a world. Does that mean under other circumstances, we couldn't also talk about the meditative joy? Or someone said bicycle, I forgot, it was a sukasa. The joy of being out on the bicycle, being out in nature, just letting the world be experienced, isn't that joy? And I think I'd have to tell Lord Sachs, there are different kinds of joy. There are different kinds of joy. The meditative joy, which I have experienced a little, sure. Sukasa says, Mara, I think you are right. I was saying the same thing. It's a higher simcha. Okay, but higher, lower, it's different, right? There are different kinds of joy. But to remember, Jews, we have to do Shabbos, we have to do Rosh Hashanah, we have to do this, we have to do that. We have all of this. Be just in your dealings, be loving, be this, be that. When your neighbor's donkey is overloaded, help unload, whatever. Along with all of that, would you please? Gary says, I have to go. 8 dogs arriving for Saturday backyard. Too late. I don't know how to handle that. We'll let it go. Okay. And yeah, there are different kinds of joy. But if we are not feeling joy in Torah study, If we're not feeling joy when we come to shul Friday evening and just be with people we recognize, we love, hear music we love, teachings which inspire. Joy is important. It's not incidental. I'm going to stop yapping. I see Abby. Okay, Abby, please. And Kevin.
A couple of things. Well, first of all, in order to feel or have joy, you have to have the opposite. You have to have the grief or the helplessness. You have to be able to define it by the opposite. And that's another thing with Rabbi Sachs writing his throughout, I have, a number of books, and it's always about the duplicity of the good, evil. It's always having to be able to hold both at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. Even a Rembrandt would agree that if you can't have contrast, you don't have a picture. Yes, I see that. Eric. Oh, excuse me, Kevin next.
Okay, I hope I'm staying on track. And the Simchas seem to be showing others, what we do as a community and trying to convert them into Judaism. I'm saying convert them. A little sidestep, Mara, I read a little bit ahead, and it says in Deuteronomy 12:17 that you may not partake in your settlements, basically what you're giving to these simchas. And then in 18, it says you must consume them before God in the place that your God will choose. So it has to be in a community event. And it did say that you have to bring your slaves, both male and female. So, I'm wondering if your slaves are Jewish, or if you're bringing people to being Jewish, to converting. And it also talks about destroying the temples of your enemies or other gods. So the only God that's able to be worshipped is our God, which brings other people into our community to see our, simchas of enjoyment.
Kevin, you do great, as you always do. Reading Torah is not one happy chapter after another. The book of Deuteronomy does not walk away from calling on the Jewish people to commit genocide. Forgive me, straight on, okay? There's very little joy that is found in that.
Now, I had a question, because you're saying genocide. I saw in this, it talks about destroying the temples, maybe displacing people, but it also talks about, questioning others, how they worshipped, which means that others are still there, so they're not completely wiped out. So that means that they are there. And if they are there, their worship is wiped out. So, and it seemed like there was, either our God or other gods, and there was nothing talking about, not believing in God or not worshiping other gods, or like just not worshiping any God. So it seemed like atheism is okay, but the I'm just wondering, what in this respect, what makes a Jewish person a Jewish person? Are the slaves a Jewish person? Are we bringing in, new people as being Jewish when they start worshiping the way that we worship and celebrate the way that we celebrate?
God, way too much to be able to handle in the last 14 minutes of our gathering. A couple of quick things. There are Jewish slaves. They're usually people who fell into debt and became slaves because of debt, and they can be released. There are structures for that. And so there are Jewish slaves, there are non-Jewish slaves, there are non-Jews in the community, and certain things are to be open to everyone. And certain observances, even the Sabbath, are to be shared even with those who will never be Jewish. So that's one whole category. Your questions are enormous. There is probably, Kevin, no religious tradition on earth more intolerant than monotheism. I don't know why I'm being so honest today. Maybe I should, simply go back and take a nap. Monotheism makes no room for other options. Judaism is a stern monotheism. Christianity is in practice a more open monotheism. And these are weird generalizations. And Islam is the most intolerant monotheism there is. Intolerance in a religious tradition is not a value for me. You can disagree, you can argue, you can take different positions, but from the Torah perspective, Jews must never allow themselves to live near those who practice other forms of worship or worship other gods, have other temples, and so forth. Kevin, I want to go further, but I can't today. There's just, there isn't time, but you are right. And the only thing that I think Sachs was trying to do here was to say, with all of the stuff, some of which we as liberal Jews totally reject. Did I say that clearly? That we as liberal Jews totally reject.
Yes, sir.
Intolerance is something which we totally reject. We can reject it, but we can't deny that its presence is found in the Torah. And what Sachs is saying, folks, with all that goes on, if you are not finding joy in your Judaism, you are missing out on maybe the core value. Tufan has brought his baby again in front of me. It was one thing for me to say nothing when his cat was jumping. It's another when he brings the baby, which is very distracting. Okay, now, I just want to move on quickly because sadly, truth, we move through time. When I walk down the Venice Strand, there is always Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna is always there. There's a guy in a saffron robe riding a bicycle, pulling a cart, and there is music playing with him on some sort of device, and he's handing out free lunches. It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing that he's doing. But it's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Rama.
Okay, singing. I respect that. Serve God with joy. And I want to mention, some of you may have heard of Robert Louis Stevenson. He wrote a couple of books, a kind of a famous person. He said something which should be in the Torah. By the way, he was a racist pig. Set that aside. And also pro-colonialism. Okay, but he said some things which were positively beautiful. He said, find out where joy is and give it a voice. I love that. Find out where joy is and give it a voice. That's Torah. Even though it's not in the Torah, it should be. Donna's doing a business posting. Would you all please read Donna's posting? A new board members.
It's an opportunity to engage in Simcha, Rabbi Davids.
That is about as extended an excuse as one could find.
I found the connection.
Okay, everyone knows that Donna is the chief executive director of all of Wilshire Boulevard. There are other executive directors of section. She's the capo of the capos or something.
She's a gift to us, a gift from God.
Okay, so it's okay. It's noticed. Elect our new board members, Betty Wynn and Abby Hertz, and cater to Oneg. Okay, that'll attract me. That's definite. Then I want to go on in the just this. This is such an incredibly rich day, filled with good stuff. If we look at Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 20, if we look at Deuteronomy 12, 20, and I want to bring you into my pain.
I want you to notice that it's 9:53. We read the first verse.
Effie, we talked about Torah before. Give me a break. Okay. Okay. Now, 12:20. A few weeks ago, I was evaluated by a doctor who said, Mazel tov, not only do you have 3 pages worth of recognized diseases, but now you have gout. Gout. I was in agony and I wasn't smiling. And he said, gout. And why is that connected to Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 20? When the Eternal enlarges your territory as promised, and you say, I shall eat some meat. For you have the urge to eat meat, you may eat meat wherever you wish. My doctor is Jewish, and my doctor is telling me not to eat meat. And I just find this outrageous.
This says you can eat meat in the doctor's office.
Okay.
I love it.
All of a sudden, I have a granddaughter arriving here in a half hour who is going to spend the morning teaching Risa all about tofu. Nothing related to true fun, but tofu. I am going to be cut out of meat. And here the Torah says, meat you can have whenever you want. Now, when did we get permission to eat meat in the Torah? When? Donna.
Wasn't it after Cain killed Abel, or after they're out of the garden? They're kicked out of the garden.
Yeah, it's Noah time. Yes, Donna, it's Noah time. It is in the time of Noah, and Rashi and others in Ibn Ezra are very, very clear. Eating of meat is a compromise, because now I know that Risa is here listening, and Risa, I'm not complaining, but eating meat is a wonderful thing. And in order to make it possible, the tradition then set up the laws of kashrut, and you have to kill painlessly and all kinds of other stuff. But eating of meat is a compromise. And how does the Torah text allow the slaughter and consumption of meat? Look at verse 21. If the place where the Eternal has chosen to establish the divine knowledge, you may slaughter any of the sheep that whatever that God gives you, and you may eat risa to your heart's content. Eat meat to your heart. It's in Torah. Okay. Eat it, however, as the gazelle and the deer are eaten, the impure may eat it together with the pure.
Stanley, I will eat it across the table from you.
Your empathy is stunning.
You'll be fine. Maya's going to show me how to buy all the make-believe meats too. You won't know the difference.
Right. I am dealing with Torah text, which says that God gives massive permission. What's interesting here is leaving my pain behind. You're supposed to go to the temple in Jerusalem, offer the sacrifice, leave part of the sacrifice for the priests, and then have what I have been calling a sacred picnic. You eat the meat outside the temple, the rest of the sacrifice, and you eat meat, and it's great. Okay? But the text here says, if where you live is simply too far to get to Jerusalem, all right, you can still slaughter properly animals in your own settlements. What does it say? I love this part. You may eat to your heart's content. Eat it, the pure and the impure together. Now, the point here is when you bring an animal to be slaughtered to the temple, the only ones who can enter the temple are those who are clean. You have to be ritually pure. So the only ones who are going to get the sacrificial picnic are those who are pure. But if you're not able to get to the temple and you slaughter the animal in your own settlements, then everyone in town can eat with you. You don't have to be ritually pure. The pure and the impure can sit down and have a quick meal. Effie, quick, please, because we're running out.
Does that include chicken also and fish?
This is strictly dealing with the four-footed animals.
Because the doctor told me I couldn't eat meat too. He said I eat it once a month, but then I said I'll start it once a month, and then it'll be once every week, and so I just cut it out all together except for Pesach.
And I have a cousin in Israel who's vegan, except on Israel Independence Day, where he has barbecue. You know, he's a Zionist, and I'm going to be vegan, except on Yom Ha'atzmaut. It would be obscene not to have an outdoor barbecue on Yom Ha'atzmaut. Okay, we're going to stop here. I mean, we have right here this don't boil a kid in its mother's milk, and we're not going to talk about that today because there's no time to talk about it today. Folks, I am going to be sending you an email inviting you to come into a conversation about some very serious matters. And it's a conversation, it's not a teaching. God's justice, God's role in controlling our lives, because of the 2 postings I did the past 2 weeks. And I'm in the middle of a serious. People are allowed to challenge me. What I really resent is when they do so intelligently. That really is troubling. So everyone's going to be invited, and you don't have to show. It's just going to be for the people who want to do it. We're going to move down to Kaddish. I love you. Thank you for today. And despite Jim Ruxin's competitiveness, thank you for belonging to the hottest adult ed program at Wilshire Boulevard Temple. But I'm not going to mention that again. And Jim, I am not bragging, nothing to do with that.
Excuse me, Rabbi. God bless you. I sent you an email, Rabbi.
We're going to move now to Kaddish to mention those who have passed away during the past month. Herman Altschul, Winifred Beck, Marion Brown, Stephen Chorna, Yvette Fisher, Ellen Coleman, Gertrude Klein, Shirley Cotton, Pearl Loderman, Mo Austin, Bobby Pearson. And those, the anniversaries of whose deaths have occurred during the past week: Milton Abrams, Deborah Agam, Robert Alexander, Yaakov Aloni, Axel Anderson, Alan Baker, Abram Barman, Stephen Bartmasser, Nesta Berger, Bertha Bernstein, Leslie Bloom, Louis Balmont, Seymour Brostoff, Ned Brody, Corinne Cohen, Marilyn Cohan, Louis Copin, Charles Solomon Denkert, Sidney Diamond, Jerry Edelman, Dione Rose Fenning, Riva Fields, Adisa Freilich, Irving Friedman, Ruth First, Harold Garber, Leon Ginsberg, Maxwell, Alexander Gray, Harold Halpern, Margaret Herskovitz, Denny Incolas, Max Eisenberg, Moses Israel, Muriel Jackson, Joseph Jacobson, Milton Kaplan, Tony Karp, Walter Keane, William Klein, Irving Knight, Leah Lass, Carrie Levitt, Rosalind Lyon, Evelyn Lyons, Elliot Maltzman, Saul Marenberg, Lou Markman, Betty Miller, Shirley Orenstein, Herta Roberts, Marilyn Roberts, Ann Wesley Ralston, A. Victor Rosenfeld, Alvin Rosenthal, J. Armin Roth, Alvin Saltzman, Sheldon Sanders, Bertram Schwimmer, Ethel Scott, Morris Shapiro, Prahata Siroti, Mark Silver, Lawrence Snyder, Dina Saad, Rodolfo Sochowicki, Gabina Sussman, Branton Tartikoff, Sue Temple, Mildred Union, Dorothy Irma Weinberger, Adele Israel Zales, Sheldon Zane. We bear in mind also all of those who died in defense of the United States, who died in defense of the state of Israel, who died through senseless acts of hatred and indifference to the value of human life. We bear in mind the names of all of those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. If I have mispronounced a name, or if you would like a name mentioned that I did not mention, please speak those names aloud now.
Alma, my mother.
We join together in the words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah v'almad divra kirutei v'amlich alchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala Kariv. Amen. Yehi Apam Le'olam Le'omei Almayim Yitbarach V'yitbarach V'yitpa'ar Say V'yitadar V'yitalal
Shemei Kudicha
Le'elav
Minchol Birachata V'Shirata
Tush B'chata
Nechemata
Damiran
Bi'alma V'imru Amen
Yehi Shlama Rabba
Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen
Oseh
Shalom B'morav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen.
May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth, and let us say Amen.
Amen.
To Italy, to Switzerland, to West LA. Shabbat shalom and love, everybody.
Shabbat shalom,
Be
everybody.
well.
Shabbat
Stay
shalom,
well.
everybody.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
you.
All you international
We
travelers,
need to
wow.
talk, right? We need to set a time. Tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
I sent you an
Shabbat
email, my email, send me a message. Thank you,
Shabbat
Rabbi.
shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
What a day. Okay. Shabbat.
What a beautiful day.
Shabbat shalom.